All right, so today is September 8th, 2023. I'm not going to do a full update. I just wanted to do a real quickie here while I got the stuff set up here. And as you can see, I got lots and lots of sawdust everywhere. And I've got the scaffolding set up back in my old configuration with this little extension here between the two, and I can kind of just unlock the wheels and pull it along the side of the boat here. But I've been working on the aft end in the center there. And what I decided to do back here anyway, well, let me start in the center. This one here was a straight shot along there. So I went ahead and just cut that with a circular saw, marked it and cut it with a circular saw. Now this up here on the aft end, didn't need just a whole lot taken down. So I used the planer here to bring it to the level of the deck beams. And it was really messy. I really didn't want to throw all those chips and sawdust into the boat, so I had it blown out towards me. Then of course it was blowing right into my chest. It was just totally covered in that. So later on I went ahead and switched it to blow outward again, or inward rather. So I'm going to have, you can see, a bunch of cleanup to do inside there, but so be it. But as you can see, I got this 2x6 laying across here. And you know, in the plans, I looked at the plans originally, they had a little bit of a dip in here. And you can see that there, that it's tight back there. And it's tight, well, I guess on this one. What that looks like it means to me is, and you can see there's a gap on this one, and a gap up there. So it looks to me like, for some reason, this one here is a little high. Now, when I go to plane these edges down, that's going to bring it down, you know, maybe 1/4 of an inch or so, but it may need to come down just a little more than that. And there's still going to be just a little bit of a gap in the rest of these, not much, because if I remember right, when I did this, there was the drawings had a little bit more of a bow here in the middle of the boat, and I was trying to take that out. Why this one here wound up being a little on the high side, I don't know. I don't know if things shifted a little bit. I don't know. But this one here is going to have to come down a little bit. And I don't think it's crucial that it's absolutely perfect. But I don't know how good of an idea was using the planer on this either. I thought, well, I don't have a whole lot to take off here. At most, it was maybe 1/2 inch here and there. So I thought, well, we can just take it down with the planer. But yeah, I don't know. I probably would have been better off using the circuit saw. If nothing else, the fact that when I'm planing it down, I'm above it and looking down on it, so I can't see how it's progressing, how it looks. I was laying a straight edge along here, that big 8-foot level there, as I went to try to, you know, keep it more or less in a straight line here, keep this top, you know, in a more or less straight line. But yeah, we'll see how that works when I go to put the deck on here. But this will need to come down a little more. And like you can see here, you know, this one I got in about 1/8 of an inch. So this one's going to need to be planed out just a little more too. But all of these need to be planed. All these deck beams need to be planed. And like I said, I don't know how crucial it's going to be if one's a 1/4 of an inch higher than another. If there's a little more of a gap on one than on the other. I don't know if that's going to show up when you put the plywood up here or not. I guess I can put the plywood up there and see how it looks. And if it looks like, you know, after I plane these, if it looks like there's some places that are going to have some gaps where the plywood should be a little higher, I can either, you know, put a couple shims in there and then fill it with some thickened epoxy too. That's the glorious thing about thickened epoxy. You can rectify things that way. But of course, I haven't done the front yet. You know, I've got this engine room area and pilot house area done. Then when you see that little knob right about in there, I gotta go forward yet. And I'll have to move all my scaffolding over there. And I think I might do, like I said earlier, and try to put a batten on there, and I don't know, we'll see how close it is, whether I can plane it or whether I should, yeah, I don't know. Might be enough room there that I can do that from above too. I could plane that down from above. That would make it somewhat easier, at least until I get right way towards the bow there. And you can see the other side up there on by the bow, the port side, is way high. But that's not necessary. That's just due to how I planked the boat, and I didn't try to keep the two sides consistent as in the planking. So that'll need to be cut down a little more to meet the other side there. But yeah, otherwise it went all right. But now I think what I'm going to do, I'm not going to try to do both sides of the boat right now. I'm going to get this side of the boat done and work on this side. We'll probably start putting plywood on this side of the boat first, and then do everything on the other side of the boat, because I'm going to have to move some stuff over there to get that in there. And I've been debating whether or not I should try to fill in the cracks between the planks here or not. I mean, the waterproofing does not come from this, you know. The plywood and the fiberglass over the plywood then is going to create the waterproofing. This is really all just for strength. So it doesn't need to be waterproofed, and I wasn't planning on waterproofing it. But like you can see here, I got some, you know, this crack's filled in here. I don't know if I should do that or not. I mean, it's going to happen to a certain extent when I put the plywood on anyway. You know, that I'm going to put, you know, liquid epoxy on, and then thickened epoxy on, and that's going to probably squish into a lot of these anyway. But, yeah. And I've been filling these screw holes in. And again, I don't know if that's really necessary or not, but my fear here is that we're not going to have complete contact with the plywood everywhere. There's going to be places where the glue isn't thick enough to, you know, if I try to put the glue on so thick that it squishes out everywhere, I'm going to use, you know, 2 gallons of epoxy on each sheet of plywood, you know, and that's not going to happen. So I don't know. But my thinking is that if we get some moisture, even, you know, from inside the boat coming in, and it might get water collecting inside these screw holes, if I don't have bungs or fill them somehow. So I'm thinking maybe I should at least, at a minimum, fill these in. So I just rough sanded down these 3 rows here, and I think I'm going to start putting some thickened epoxy in there. And just as I'm moving down the boat with this scaffolding, it won't be that big a job to go ahead and fill these in while I go. But like I said, I'm still debating. Now this is the transition. This here is the transition between the raised shear here, and the sides of the boat. This could all be considered house. This raised shear part is here instead of having a house top. So yeah, so that's why you're seeing a bigger gap here, because that's where the boards meet at different angles. This is more or less perfectly vertical, while this is tapered down to the bottom planking. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I should decide what I want to do here, if I want to try to fill these or not. Probably should fill this big one here, you suppose, where that angle is kind of different. I don't know. And I thought about just putting some caulk in there too, but epoxy is always better. So yeah, we'll see. I guess I got to make up my mind pretty quickly on that. But anyway, I'm going to mix up some epoxy and go ahead and start filling some of these screw holes, and then as I go, I'll have to make up my mind if I want to fill in some of these other areas too. All right, well, that's just it for real quickie today. All right, so today is September 13th, and I've been moving along, albeit rather slowly, on the side here, on the starboard side. What I've been doing is I've been filling the screw holes, doing a little bit of rough planing where they need to be planed, and then this this point on the boat where the shear goes up to the raised shear. Side planking comes up and then goes straight up on the raised shear. I've been filling that in with thickened epoxy, simply to make it a little easier when we get the plywood on there, a little bit smaller area to have to fill. And all the screw holes, and I've been doing a little bit of rough planing where some of the planks may be a little high or a little low. I've been doing some planing there. But I don't know if you can maybe see, I've got the screw holes and everything all done through about half the boat. And I've got the top planed up there going back. And I've got the, I'm not sure how much I had in that first video, but I've got the these deck beams here, that angle, that slope. I've got these planed off, and I've got this planed off, and I've got that planed off back there. So I've got the forward end to do here yet. And as you can see right here, this is where it starts. This hasn't been cut off yet or planed. And right down here, it's a little low. And then if you look all the way going forward, boy, they're pretty close to being, you know, the planking is pretty close to being spot on to these deck beams. So I don't know if I'll, yeah, I don't know. We need to get this here trimmed down and tapered up, you know, this way. I don't know why there's so much difference right in here and not elsewhere, but we'll need to get this tapered, and I'll probably use the circular saw for that. And then once that's done, I'll have to decide if I actually want to start, you know, cutting this stuff down just a little bit closer to the deck beams or not. I don't know. Like I said, it's really close. I don't know if they're going to need a whole lot. But these deck beams will need to be, you know, trimmed off just a little bit, like the corner here where these planks are going to lay on here. The decking is going to lay here. As you can see here, it's a little high here. So this needs to come down just a little bit, depending on how the curvature of this deck runs. They'll need just a little bit, not much. And you could maybe even just do that with a belt sander or something, but I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, see, the cats don't like it now that I don't have the steps coming up into the boat anymore. They can't get in the boat. Oh no. So we'll just have to stay elsewhere. But yeah, so this is going all right. But I decided, since I had the scaffolding over here and up and ready to go, I might as well get the sides done, the side planking done, in terms of filling the screw holes. And then any places we have any rough excuse me, rough surfaces where the two planks meet, I'll run the power plane over that too, to smooth it down just a little bit in preparation for putting plywood on here. Again, I really didn't want to start putting this plywood on until it cools off a little better, to give me more working time with the epoxy, which by the way, I ordered another 10-gallon kit, which is like, you know, 13.5 gallons or 14 gallons, whatever that is. So I've got more epoxy on the way. I'm down to a couple gallons is all, and I'm going to need a lot of it. Oop, here she comes again. She likes climbing stairs and ladders and stuff, which I guess most cats do enjoy that, but she's always been one to, if I'm working on a 12-foot ladder, you know, up here, and there all of a sudden there's a cat next to me. But yeah, so this is going all right. We'll get this finished this week, and then this side will be pretty much ready to start with putting plywood on. Like I said, what little bit needs to come down on some of these up forward here, I think can wait until after the plywood's on, and they can probably just be sanded down to their final level. But I haven't been up to just a whole lot more else than this. I've had kind of a busy week with other things. And in this process too, rather than moving the scaffolding, you know, every hour or two, I've been doing several layers here, then come back and sanding them, and then moving the scaffolding. So I haven't been getting in just too big of a hurry. Again, I want to wait until it cools off a little bit before I start putting plywood on, and that's really the next job. And I think I mentioned earlier too that I think I'm going to wait with doing any of this work on the other side of the boat until I get this side done. I'll just do one side and then switch to the other side because I've got lumber and stuff stacked over here. I'm not going to be able to get my scaffolding around there with that lumber in the way. So that stuff's going to all have to be moved, so I'll go ahead and just concentrate on this side, probably for the most part, on the starboard side, and go from there. But anyway, that's just a little update, nothing too spectacular, but that's where we are on the 13th of September.